Good evening, travelers of myth and memory. Welcome to Mythoria, Secrets and Sagas. Tonight, I invite you to step beyond the veil of ordinary time and climb with me to the very summit of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. As you listen, let yourself imagine that you are truly there, walking upon marble paths among immortals, breathing the air of eternity, seeing with your own eyes what no mortal was ever meant to see. Before we begin, I would love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now? I create these journeys every midnight so that each new midnight another story may unfold. You, wherever you are part of this great circle of voices. Now, take a deep breath and let us begin the ascent. You climb past the last band of cloud, and the world below falls silent like a memory closing its own door. Wind thins into a cold, glassy hush. Your breath shows white, then disappears. Above you, the path becomes a ribbon of pale stone rising through the sky, and on its end, farther than far, two golden doors stand where the horizon should be. They are not carved, they are remembered into existence, like something you knew before you were born and forgot the moment you learned your first word. You place your hand on the marble. It is warm, not with sunlight, but with the residue of footsteps. This stone has carried sandals, hooves, talons, and the patient press of bare divine heels. It hums with a pulse that is not quite sound, like a harp string stretched across the centuries. Each step you take answers with a faint tone that seems to tune your blood. The air changes as you approach the gates. It grows dense, saturated, honeyed with the scent of something like orange blossom and thunder. Lightning has a smell on Olympus, so does authority. You feel it on your tongue. Metallic, clean, forbidding. The doors are taller than any cathedral and thinner than a whisper. You see your reflection in them, not as a body but as a possibility. Your outline blurs into a child you once were, then into the elder you might be, then into the nameless silhouette that waits at the end of every life. You lift the ring of the doors, cool, impossible weight, and the hinges do not groan, they breathe. A draught rolls out, warmth, laughter, the clink of goblets, lyre strings like daylight braided into sound. You step inside. The floor is marble veined with gold that moves like a slow river under the surface. A cloud runs its fingers along the base of a column and dissolves. Overhead, the sky is not quite a ceiling and not quite a sky. It is a window into permanence. No birds cross it. Time does not cross it. You have left both behind. Turn to your right. Hera sits beside Athena on a platform shaped like a thought becoming law. Hera's gaze arrives before she does, cool as winter water, measuring, weighing. She does not ask who you are. She asks, without speaking, whether you are fitting. There is an exactness about her, the drape of her garment, the arc of her wrist, the way her crown holds the room still. Beside her, Athena leans slightly forward, eyes bright as polished iron. Wisdom is often confused with gentleness. Here you learn otherwise. Her attention disassembles and arranges you with a craftsman's speed. A small owl blinks from her shoulder, and in that blink you sense battle plans, city charters, secret names of storms. You look down at your hands. They feel loud. Mortal hands are always loud on Olympus, full of hunger lines, inked in small, desperate hopes. You flex your fingers, and the air hums around them, as if the room is deciding how much of you to permit. Turn to your left. Apollo reclines with a lyre across his lap, each string a captured sunbeam. He plucks once, and light falls into prisms along the floor. The note does not end. It finds your breath and rides it, arranges your heartbeat into a measure. No dust exists near him. Near him, everything is clarity. Farther along, Dionysus laughs, and the laugh turns red, a wine splash of sound. He tips a cup, and the spill becomes a vine mid-air, grapes like filled lungs bursting with ferments of possibility. Someone is always arriving where Dionysus sits. Someone is always leaving, without quite knowing what they've left behind. You walk. The columns do not hold the roof, they advise it. Each is a tree turned into philosophy. Your footsteps echo as if echo were a creature and not a physics. Hermes appears without entering and will leave without departing. His sandals do not touch the floor, they agree with it. He smiles the way crossroads smile, invitation braided with warning. You made it, he says, and makes the sentence sound both sincere and ill-advised. A coin flashes across his fingers and becomes a small caduceus, then a sprig of fresh mint, then nothing you have a word for. You keep moving, because to stand still here is to confess ignorance. The air is delicious, bordering on too much. Ambrosia travels in it, scent like ripe peaches taught to sing. You have known hunger all your life. Here, hunger looks back at you like an old friend who has taken a different path and become a stranger. Your stomach quiets, not from fullness, but from the end of wanting. It is frightening, the ease with which desire dissolves when it is no longer necessary. A servant, no, not a servant. There are only arrangements here offers a shallow bowl. Nectar, it is said, but it looks like distilled noon. You hesitate. On Olympus, accepting is consenting to be changed. You lift the bowl anyway. The liquid touches your tongue and rewrites your childhood, then writes it back again with cleaner ink. For a heartbeat, you remember every summer you have ever had, all at once. Then the bowl is empty, and your throat is a clear bell that has just been struck. You think, this is paradise. Then you think again, without lack, what is left to measure anything by. A hush tightens. Zeus has entered the way storms enter, first as pressure, then as decision. His beard carries the geometry of clouds. Lightning flickers along his bracelets and asks permission to exist. He does not look at you at first. He looks through the hall, an audit of order. When his gaze lands, it is not a gaze, it is policy. Your name falls very softly inside your skull, as if spoken by a mountain. You bow without deciding to. The body knows old hierarchies. Hera's eyes narrow almost imperceptibly. Athena's head inclines a fraction, a scholar conceding the presence of a theorem. Somewhere, Poseidon shifts and the floor rises a hair, as if the sea has remembered itself. He smells of salt-wet bronze and old whalebone. The trident by his side keeps tides obedient by reminding them of their childhood. You hear a rumor of earthquakes cross the room like a draught. You turn again, because turning here is a kind of prayer. Aphrodite steps from behind no curtain at all, because beauty does not need an entrance. It arrives. The world becomes slightly more itself in her presence. Colors confess their true names. The air admits it has always been silk. She looks at you the way early spring looks at stone, and wonders how best to coax a flower out of it. For a breath, you are certain you could live here forever, just so her gaze can happen to you every day. Then you notice that her perfection is a circle with no door. You could walk its edge for 1,000 years and never reach a threshold. Ares stands not far behind, not exactly in shadow, not exactly in light, the place where decision tilts into action. His armor speaks in the grammar of clangor. He smells of polished iron and last chances. He is not furious. Fury is a mood, and moods change. He is war, which is simpler, steadier, and therefore more terrible. When he glances over, your muscles remember the species' oldest instructions. Somewhere inside your bones, spears brace. Hestia tends a modest hearth, and you want to kneel by it and cry without reason. Her fire has nothing to prove. It is the first thing that made a circle of strangers into us. In its glow, you see kitchens that are no longer standing, and the flawless ordinariness of bread. You realize you have missed the sound of wooden spoons and low voices, and the small ceremonies of mortal dusk. Your throat tightens around gratitude for things that will never be famous. There are others. Artemis with the night built into her eyes, Apollo's twin and answer, Demeter, whose patience carries the weight of seasons, Hephaestus, whose forge makes ideas touchable, Persephone, whose smile keeps two worlds honest. Each presence presses on you differently, like philosophies wearing bodies. You understand, dimly, why shrines were necessary. Mortals needed rooms where one pressure at a time could be endured. You turn back toward the gates without meaning to. Outside, the earth hangs like a blue and green fruit. Clouds swarm around their mountains. The world below is loud with births and bargains, weeds and weddings, roofs patched before a storm. You imagine the spoon knocking the rim of a pot, a child laughing at nothing, a tired hand loosening a bootlace. Each image tastes like bread. Behind you, the hall reshapes itself around another joke told by Hermes, another song invented by Apollo, another subtle correction from Athena that becomes a law. Nothing decays here, nothing spoils, nothing runs out. That is the blessing and the problem. You feel it now, the slowest danger, meaning thinning into satin because it never rubs against loss. In heaven, even happiness becomes an element instead of an event. You could float on it forever and never once feel the wave break. Do you see? Asks a voice you cannot place, because on Olympus, voices belong to the room as much as to bodies. Perhaps it is your own voice returned to you after a long detour. Desire is an instrument. Take away its strings and it cannot play you anything. You walk toward the long table where the feast reclines across itself like a summer that forgot to end. Pomegranates sigh open, figs blush, olives remember the sun that made them. A honeycomb glows with the quiet stubbornness of bees. You reach for a grape and stop. In that hesitation, you feel the shape of your life on earth, the reach and the stop, the cost and the sweetness. Here reaching requires no courage. Here sweetness asks no price. Perfection is an unspent coin. Hera finally speaks, not aloud. The thought arrives in the manner of winter arriving at windows. Human, you have learned to climb. Have you learned to leave? Athena's owl rotates its head, and the little round face holds you in a system of measure. You are being sorted not for punishment, but for belonging. You turn once more, not right, not left, but inward, and find Hestia's hearth again. Flame folds around wood. It crackles the way mortal time crackles, beautiful because it ends. You understand that your pulse is mortal fire. You understand that you want it to be. Far away, a thunderhead clears its throat, and the hall politely pretends not to notice Zeus smiling. Not pride, exactly, recognition. The recognition a mountain grants a bird that remembers where the ground is. You walk back to the golden doors. The marble underfoot keeps your secret by becoming merely stone. Hermes is there before he arrives. Going so soon, he says, which is the same as asking, going at the right time. You nod. He nods. The coin he holds winks like a star seen between moving branches. As you place your palm on the door, the hall shifts. No, stays, like a truth that doesn't need your belief. Behind you, laughter continues without edges. Music stretches into a line drawn all the way around the horizon. Ahead of you, a gust of the lower world comes up to meet your face. Smoke of cooking fires, leather and rain, the algebra of traffic, the unimportant miracle of ordinary voices. You step over the threshold. The hinge breathes again, and the doors ease shut. The scent of ambrosia thins into the smell of moss and iron, soup and soil. Your hunger returns like an old dog that forgives everything. You feel the slight ache in your knee that warns of weather and memory, and it is good. You are returned to the grammar of mornings and evenings, to the music that requires silence to make sense. Only then do you know why you could not survive on Olympus, not because you were unworthy, but because you were too perfectly human. You need time to end so your days can begin. You need lack So that love can move, you need the risk of losing to make keeping radiant. Eternity is a circle. You were born to walk a line. Cloud closes behind you like a curtain. The path widens, then becomes many paths, then becomes the street you know, the key in your pocket, the door that sticks a little in damp weather, the name that sounds right only when spoken by one particular voice in the next room. You breathe. The air does not taste like lightning anymore. It tastes like your life, which is to say, it tastes like everything that matters because none of it lasts. You cross the threshold fully now, and the hall of Olympus expands around you like a thought that has no edge. At first, you think it is endless, but then you realize it is worse. It is perfectly contained, a space so whole it does not need borders. The first thing that reaches you is scent. Ambrosia rides the air, rich and intoxicating, a perfume both floral and metallic, like honey poured over lightning. Nectar drips from chalices, shimmering not with color, but with memory. You smell it, and suddenly recall moments from your own life, scattered and tender, a childhood afternoon, a kiss you thought you had forgotten, the laughter of someone you once loved. Here, food is not nourishment, but memory itself, distilled into taste. You walk forward. The table runs the length of eternity, heaped with fruit, roasted meats, loaves that steam though no oven burns. But the fruit does not spoil, the meat does not cool, the bread does not stale. Everything here is caught in a single perfect moment. And perfection, you notice, has no appetite. Turn to your right. Hera sits, her crown steady, her eyes precise. Beside her, Athena leans in, whispering something sharp and clever. Hera's smile is thin, and Athena's gaze flickers toward you, dissecting you with the speed of a falcon. They are not distracted by the feast. Their nourishment is intrigue, strategy, the slow weaving of destiny. Now turn left. Apollo's fingers glide over his lyre, the notes scattering like shards of morning sunlight. Each sound pierces the air, lingers, and does not fade, because here even music does not end. Beside him, Dionysus reclines, laughter spilling louder than wine. He sloshes his cup, and where drops fall, vines erupt from the marble, twisting with grapes that glow like lanterns. His joy is infectious, almost violent in its excess. You step closer to the table, and a golden goblet is placed before you. Nectar shimmers within, alive, waiting. You lift it and drink. The taste is not sweet or bitter, but something stranger, like remembering who you were before you were born. Your knees weaken under the weight of it. Around you, gods feast without hunger. Their laughter does not sound like yours. It is wider, colder, and older. They are beautiful, unbearably so, but beauty that never changes becomes a prison. Their faces, flawless, seem almost fragile in their eternal sameness. You realize, with a sudden chill, nothing here needs to begin, because nothing ever ends. Your own stomach stirs uncomfortably. This is not the satisfaction of a mortal meal, where food eases pain and fills absence. This is fullness without lack, a feast without hunger. And you begin to sense it. Desire itself dies here. Hermes slides into view. He never enters. He just is. He grins, tilts his head. "Strange, isn't it?" he murmurs. You dream of never going hungry, and the first thing you miss is hunger. His laugh is quicksilver, vanishing before you can respond. You glance again at the gods, Zeus, his beard like thunderclouds, lifting a goblet the size of a mountain's crown. Aphrodite, radiant, every curve a hymn. Ares sharpening a blade, though no enemy dares approach. Each one eternal, each one unchanging. And then you feel it, like a thread snapping inside you. This place is not built for you. Mortality craves contrast, hunger and fullness, joy and sorrow, beginnings and endings. Here, where everything is always and forever, the edges are gone, and without edges, meaning dissolves. The feast is glorious, the feast is terrible. You sit at the table of gods and realize this is why you could not stay. The feast fades into background hum. Music continues, laughter ripples, goblets rise and fall, but beneath the golden light you sense tension, like a harp string pulled too tight. Here, joy is never innocent. Here, even celebration carries the weight of rivalry. You turn to your right. Zeus leans forward, his hand wrapped around a goblet as though it were the hilt of a weapon. His voice shakes the marble, though he speaks no louder than a man in a marketplace. Across from him sits Poseidon, shoulders vast as cliffs, hair damp with brine. His trident leans against his chair, glowing faintly, humming with the rhythm of tides. They are not feasting, they are arguing. You cannot hear words, not exactly. Language here is too old, too deep. But the meaning thrums through your chest. Who commands the sea? Who commands the storm? Who holds dominion over men? Each claim strikes like lightning, each rebuttal like a crashing wave. The hall trembles, and you feel the air change pressure as if the world below is caught between thunder and flood. Hera watches with eyes sharp as daggers. She does not interrupt, she directs. A flicker of her gaze, the slight curve of her mouth, and the tension between Zeus and Poseidon sharpens just enough. She is not breaking them apart. She is ensuring they never settle. Power, she knows, survives not in peace, but in balance of fear. Behind you, laughter again. Hermes is there, or was already. He leans near your ear, whispers, "Do you see how they play? Mortals call it war, but for gods it is only a game board. A kingdom toppled here, a fleet destroyed there. It keeps the pieces moving." His smile widens. "And you would be just another piece." Then he vanishes, though you feel the brush of his sandals in the air. Turn your head. Aphrodite rises, her gown flowing like water that has forgotten gravity. She steps toward Ares, who grips his spear, eyes fixed not on her but on you. His stare pins you, and you understand. To him, every gaze is a challenge, every stranger a soldier. The spear tilts, not raised, but ready. Aphrodite touches his arm lightly, and the metal sighs as if tamed by beauty. For now, to your left, Athena debates with Apollo. Not loudly, not angrily. This is not the thunder of Zeus, nor the sea roar of Poseidon. Their conflict is quieter, colder. Apollo's words glow like poetry, smooth, radiant, irresistible. Athena counters with precision, a strategist's scalpel dissecting each phrase until nothing remains but exposed bone. You cannot tell who wins, only that truth itself bends under the weight of their contest. You realize then, these are not quarrels you can understand in human terms. They are patterns older than empires. War and love, storm and sea, wisdom and art. They are not simply emotions or forces. They are beings, playing their endless game with the lives of mortals as counters. A sound cracks behind you. Lightning sears the air between Zeus and Poseidon. The hall stills, every eye waiting. The marble itself seems to breathe, afraid to fracture. Then Zeus leans back and Poseidon's wave recedes into silence. For now, the game is paused. You exhale and realize you had been holding your breath. In that pause, you understand. To live on Olympus is to live inside a storm that never ends. Here, love is always strategy, wisdom always rivalry, laughter always edged with threat. No bond is permanent, no peace secure. The gods cannot die, so they cannot finish their games. They play them forever. You glance again at your mortal hands. They tremble, not from fear, but from recognition. You have quarreled, you have schemed, you have envied. But for you, these struggles end. They fade, they resolve, or they are buried with time. For the gods, they never end. They are trapped in eternity's circle, condemned to repeat their dramas without closure. Hermes reappears, smirking. "Still want to stay?" he asks. His question is light, but the weight behind it is heavy as fate. And in your chest, something whispers the answer, no. You could not live where conflict is endless and peace is impossible. You could not survive where even laughter tastes of power. Here, in the games of the gods, you feel it clearly. Olympus is not heaven. It is a cage, gilded in lightning. The quarrels quiet, the laughter softens, the music fades into threads of light. For a moment, Olympus seems still. You turn your head, and in the pause, you meet the eyes of immortals. And in their gaze, you begin to understand the one truth that no feast, no game, no thunderclap can disguise: eternity. You look first at Aphrodite. Her beauty is a wound that never heals, a sunrise that never ends. For a heartbeat, you are consumed by her perfection, the curve of her face, the glow of her skin. But then a strange unease creeps in. She will always look like this, forever radiant, forever unchanged. What is desire when there is no risk of loss? What is beauty when it never fades? Perfection, repeated without end, becomes a mirror in which nothing new appears. You shift your gaze to Apollo. He strums his lyre, the sound flawless, every note golden. Yet there is no silence between the notes, no pause where anticipation lives. Music that never ends loses its edge, like a flame that burns too long until it is only light without warmth. You imagine his songs stretching through centuries, and you wonder if even he still hears them, or if they have become only habit. Ares catches your eye next. His armor gleams, his spear rests across his knees. In his gaze burns endless battle. Not the urgency of one war, but the monotony of war forever. You see in his eyes every clash, every scream, every rising smoke. For mortals, war is horror because it ends lives. For Ares, war is horror because it never ends at all. You turn, and Demeter passes near, her hands full of wheat that will never rot, stalks that never bend. You smell the fields of earth, the rain-soaked soil, the warmth of harvest. And yet the seasons here are frozen. No autumn's decline, no winter's waiting, no spring's return, only endless abundance. You suddenly crave the smell of withering leaves, the melancholy of bare branches, the ache of longing for spring. Without winter, summer is not sweet. Now you notice the stillness behind their movements. It is subtle, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. They are not living, they are performing life forever. Each god embodies a principle that does not bend. Each is trapped in the eternity of their own role. They cannot change, because to change would be to admit imperfection. And you are mortal. You have lived change in your bones. You have watched a face wrinkle, a child grow, a fire burn down to embers. You have known beginnings and endings. That is what makes your world unbearable at times, and yet that is also what makes it precious. Hermes, sudden as always, leans into your ear. His smile is playful, but his words are grave. Do you know why mortals cannot stay here? Because you measure life in moments, not in eternities. You need hunger to taste bread. You need silence to hear song. You need endings to make beginnings matter. Here, none of that exists. Here, even joy curdles into monotony. You look again at Zeus upon his throne. His power is unquestioned, his presence absolute, but you notice his eyes, bright as storm, yes, but heavy. He has ruled forever, and will rule forever. There is no triumph left, because triumph requires the risk of defeat. Here, there is no risk, and then it strikes you, the weight of eternity is not bliss. It is stasis, no loss, no gain, no change. You close your eyes for a moment. Memory rises not of gods but of earth, the fragile sound of rain against a roof, the fleeting smile of someone across a table, the ache of goodbye, the sweetness of return. These are small, mortal things, but in them you feel something more vibrant than all the glory of Olympus. You open your eyes again. The gods are still seated, still radiant, still flawless, still unchanging. And you understand, you could not survive here, because survival itself requires struggle, and on Olympus, struggle does not exist. The weight of eternity presses down like a mountain, and you feel yourself shrinking under it. This is not heaven, it is the prison of forever. The silence after eternity is louder than thunder. You stand in the great hall of Olympus, and the gods no longer need to prove themselves. They do not shout, they do not strike, they do not even speak. They simply are. And in their presence, you begin to feel the smallest thing you have ever felt, smaller than an ant, smaller than dust, a brief flame flickering among eternal fires. You turn to your right. Hera still sits, posture unbroken, eyes sharp as diamonds. She does not even look at you now. For her, your presence is already a passing shadow. Athena's owl blinks once, and the gesture feels like judgment. Mortals are interesting precisely because they leave. You turn left. Apollo strums again, but this time the note doesn't dazzle. You hear it for what it is, one perfect sound, repeated forever until perfection becomes unbearable. Dionysus spills wine once more, laughter curling across the hall, but the vine that sprouts on the marble is the same vine as before. It does not grow, it does not die. It is simply repeated. Your eyes rise to Zeus. His throne radiates authority, his beard storms with unseen lightning. At last he meets your gaze. The weight of it pins you where you stand, and then, slowly, almost gently, he shakes his head. No words are spoken aloud, but the meaning lands inside you like a verdict. You do not belong here. Your place is below, among earth, among endings, among lives that blaze and burn out. That is what it means to be human, to desire, to hunger, to fail, to die. That is where your glory is, not here. You feel a tug behind your ribs, like a rope tied to your heart. Hermes is there again, smiling sideways. "Time to go," he says, and for the first time his voice holds no mischief, only pity, or perhaps respect. You walk toward the golden gates. Each step feels heavier, as though Olympus itself resists letting you leave, not because it wants you, but because eternity is jealous of anything that can escape. You push the doors, and once again they breathe. Outside, the air tastes different. Mortal, thin, sharp, alive. Clouds curl around the mountain's edge, and beneath them the world stretches wide. Rivers, forests, villages, the glow of fires, the pulse of people. You inhale, and hunger returns to your stomach. Desire stirs in your chest. Time resumes its patient drumbeat in your veins. You look back one last time. The hall of Olympus gleams, untouched, unchanged. It will be the same tomorrow and the day after that, for as long as the world endures. And suddenly you are grateful to leave, because down there, below the clouds, in the realm of mortals, things break, things end, things change, and in change lies meaning. Bread is sweeter because it grows stale. Love is deeper because it can be lost. Life is luminous because it flickers. You descend. Each step takes you closer to noise, to laughter that fades, to music that stumbles, to faces that wrinkle, to moments that cannot be repeated. And you know now, these are not flaws, these are treasures. The gods may live forever, but they will never know the taste of a fleeting summer night, the shiver of a first kiss, the ache of goodbye that makes reunion holy. When your feet touch earth again, you press your hand to the ground. Soil crumbles under your fingers, messy, imperfect, alive. You smile because you understand. This is where you belong. And now, traveler, you too return with me. You have walked among the immortals. You have feasted at their table. You have looked into their unending eyes, and you have seen why you could never stay there. You are mortal. And that is not a curse, but the very thing that makes your life a gift. So tell me, as you come back to your own world, where are you listening from? What time is it where you are right now? And what do you think? Would you choose eternity without change, or the fragile, fleeting days that give life its meaning? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your voice, your thoughts, are part of this great tapestry of stories woven across time and space. Thank you for walking this road tonight. Rest well, live deeply, and carry with you the reminder that though gods may shine forever, it is mortal hearts that burn the brightest. Until the next saga, traveler, good night.